Examine the problem of invasive species in the U.S.
Taken over by invasive foreign species.
An invasive species has been in the conversation for quite some time now.
Over some of the big invasive species events.
Invasive species and the impacts that they're having.
While Florida has the most invasive species.
Combating the spread of invasive species.
Where the invasive species appear.
Many people talk about invasive species, but what are invasive species? As we began our research on what these organisms are and what they do, we discovered that, according to usgc.gov, they are non-native organisms that can cause harm to the environment, economy, and human health. Various articles focus on the impact of invasive species in South Florida. Highlighted to be the most important cause of extinction, they compete with native plants and animals for resources. The impact on human health is no joke either. Disease-carrying species impact societies both urban and rural. Invasive species became a noticeable pattern in Key Biscayne starting in the 1960s. FIU marine scientist Justin Campbell was one of the first to recognize a non-native species growing in the waters of Biscayne Bay. Then, an outburst of the green iguana, followed by seagrass and lionfish, proved that invasive species were becoming a great problem. The National Park Service focuses on invasive species found in Key Biscayne. A long list of organisms can be found here, highlighting the great variety of invasive species found in Key Biscayne alone. A number of these animals are fish, specifically lionfish. Even the Key Biscayne Yacht Club cooperated with various programs to control the lionfish population by sponsoring lionfish derbies in 2018. The persistent fish frustrated many residents as damages were incurred on buildings and wildlife, raising questions on the safety of native species.
Okay, cool.
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Noemi Soto. I am the environmental management teacher here at Mast Academy, and I've been teaching here for 4 years. And I'm also a graduate of University of Florida. And I studied entomology, which is the study of insects, and I also have expertise in microbiology and cell science.
So what are some invasive species found in Key Biscayne?
Invasive species in Key Biscayne, I would say, is the black and white tegu, the Burmese python, the lionfish, the iguanas.
The green iguanas, one of the commonly found invasive species in Key Biscayne. First reported to be seen in Hialeah, Coral Gables, and Key Biscayne in the 1960s, this organism is both strong and competitive, using its strong jaws and sharp teeth to fight native organisms. So, what makes Key Biscayne such a great place for the iguanas? According to keybiscayneindependent.org, green iguanas thrive in heat and humidity, making the Key a perfect environment for them to live in. One of the biggest concerns, however, is their fast reproduction rates. They reproduce annually and can have up to 65 offspring at a time, labeling these organisms into a highly reproductive category, emphasizing the threat to native wildlife.
Eating up the big lizards can be found everywhere, from a supermarket parking lot to canals and in your backyard.
Yeah, and state officials say the population has grown out of control, and this stuff.
But how do these iguanas arrive in Key Biscayne?
Well, a lot of them are brought as pets. So people are like, ooh, a cute little iguana, let me keep it as a pet at home. But then it gets too big and they're like, ew, gross, get rid of it.
Majority of these animals are pets, and a lot of the times they're introduced in by humans, and so they're left behind or they're purposely released into the wild.
Other times they just get blown over here from like a hurricane, or maybe they go on some like cargo ship or something that kind of brings it from one place to another. That's usually how things enter.
What impact do they have on native species and ecosystems?
They compete with the native vegetation and resources available. Essentially, the resources that are normally for natives, they're being outcompeted by the invasive species that have a better niche at it better than the natives. So now they're not only producing faster, but there's nothing eating them. So they're kind of ripping out the nutrients and not giving enough or leaving enough for native species to even have a chance.
Well, these iguanas, because they come from other places, they don't have a natural predator. Because of that, they get to just eat everything without being like checked or controlled, which means that they're gonna skyrocket in population, which means that food sources for other organisms are gonna be depleted. And then that's not great for the ecosystem, because what we have here naturally is going to decline, which means that our habitat is going to change or adjust.
What steps are being taken to control their population?
Culinary. And eating invasive species is a way to combat their invasiveness. You can eat iguanas. Iguana soup is a common specialty in a lot of Caribbean foods. And also finding and navigating them and actually killing them. Airsoft bullets are one of the popular practices practiced by University of Florida. There are humane ways that the university, not speaking for the university, but they find ways to humanely eliminate these animals.
I feel like there's some competitions out there that hunt iguanas. I think there are some initiatives where they're trying to limit the population and try to catch as many as they can.
According to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the green iguanas and tegus are in the prohibited non-native species list since 2021. Now, it is legal for iguanas to be captured and humanely killed year-round without a permit, banning owners from having pet iguanas in their possession.
So it's expanding the ban on green iguanas to be all iguana species. So that's rock iguanas, Lewis-eye hybrids, that kind of stuff, rhino iguanas, spiny-tailed iguanas. They're now going to be prohibited species.
The bill the experts in this interview were expanding on was enacted to protect the residents' gardens and reduce the dangerous spread of salmonella through iguana droppings. Moreover, these iguanas eat all kinds of plants and butterflies, harming the native species in Florida, or specifically Key Biscayne.
The number one thing that everyone can do is report it. Report any non-native species you encounter out in the field. And in Florida, we've got a number of ways to make this as easy as possible for you. You can log online to I'veGotOne.org. Here you can report sightings right from the field. The second thing you can do is control and manage them in your own landscape when possible. So there are some simple options, like employing some strategies to discourage and decrease their presence around your home. And when it is safe to do so, you can also trap and humanely euthanize them. Remember, these invasive reptiles and amphibians are not protected by state law, only by anti-cruelty standards, which means humane euthanasia is critical to any management approach. So just remember, to have a meaningful impact on invasive species and protect Florida, it truly takes everyone working together. Please help us spread the message and not the pest.